Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ACE Performance Training Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, George owner of Foxhound Fuel. How are you today?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Sorry, I was like tongue-tied. I just finished like striking in jiu-jitsu, so I'm kind of tired.
Understood.
So quick little backstory for everybody. George and I ran into each other at a Mason Fowler seminar at Fight Syndicate in Marietta, and he had a stand, and I couldn't help but look at the product and just absolutely loved everything in it. All natural kind of stuff, really, and I'll let him tell you more about it. I don't want to steal the show, but it was really cool to kind of try his products. He sent me with a sample. We loved it. And ever since then, I've pretty much been using it for me and all of my students and athletes. So cool. I was going to give you the stage to kind of talk about your products and kind of go from there, like about how you started the company and all that.
Yeah, maybe I'll give a quick background on the genesis of the product and then go into the individual products. So it's
perfect. Yeah, I know. I'm like, sorry, I have ADHD, so I'm like always all over the place. All right.
So the background of it is my background actually is mostly in endurance sports. So started with long distance running. Eventually that transitioned into like triathlons leading up to racing the full distance Ironman a few years back.
Nice.
And during that period, we would do anything from like our regular training days were like biking 120 miles or going and running 20 miles or something like that. And sometimes a combination of those.
Yeah.
So we were constantly throwing down calories, sports nutrition, electrolytes, just to, it was like an 8-hour workout sometimes. And then in 2019, I had a kid, so I didn't have time to do that stuff anymore. And so wanted to train combat sports for fun. And I noticed when I was training in striking, a lot of people, it's very demanding, but a lot of people in class were drinking not the greatest stuff. They had crappy energy drinks that were full of sugar, artificial ingredients. And I thought it was very strange because sports nutrition is such a big part of the endurance athlete scene. So I talked to a few friends of mine who fight professionally, John and Josh Wong Kim. We throw them up on our social media once in a while. As the Twin Dragons, they fight MMA. But I asked them about it, like, you guys train so hard. What do you guys, do to like stay hydrated beyond just water or whatever? And they said, not really. There's just, sometimes we'll pick up a Gatorade here and there. And so I talked to a bunch of their friends and it seemed to be the same answer. So it seemed like within this, at least within kind of the combat functional fitness realm, there wasn't really any good options for them. Everyone I talked to, they said, we just want something that's simple, clean, and natural. And you could leave the flavors like electric unicorn rainbow, leave that stuff out. So I was like, oh, interesting. So I worked with a formulator and nutritionist and made 3 products under the brand Foxhound. There's a before, during, and after workout. So like, for example, the before workout, I'll just show it, not to get too salesy, but like,
no, you're good. You're good. I like it.
Okay. They come in stick packs and full size packs, but like the before workouts pretty much is matcha green tea, B vitamins and electrolytes.
Yes.
And we don't put any artificial sweeteners, or this one doesn't have any sugar. And we use matcha because it's like, it doesn't make you jittery or itchy. So very simple and natural and clean ingredients. The during, just real quick, we call it just hydrate for obviously hydration. It's mostly with coconut water powder, B vitamins, and then some additional electrolytes like magnesium. And the most popular was the post workout, because everyone always talking about they got to recover for the next session. It's called recover, obviously.
Yes.
It's got BCA and glutamine, so amino acids, turmeric for inflammation, and with the turmeric we put a little bit of black pepper to help your body absorb it, and then we put electrolytes as well.
That's awesome.
Oh, sorry,
go on. Sorry. No, you go.
All 3 products we cut things like sucralose, which are artificial sweeteners. 2 of the 3 products don't have sugar. We don't put any added color or anything like that. It's really kind of just what you see is what you get. We even leave out stuff like silica, which is I don't think it's necessarily bad. Like that stuff for maltodextrin, but they're like these filler powders that make the powder flow finer, but you kind of don't need it. So we just decided to cut everything. So if you look at the label, it's very simple, and I think we get a lot of compliments on that.
Yes, and that's what caught my attention. Was I looked at it and there wasn't a single ingredient that a normal person wouldn't know what it was. Does that make sense? Like there was no B, hydro, whatever. You know what I mean? With the little symbols, like it was just like, oh yeah, turmeric, black pepper, like this. I know what all of these things are, and I know what they do. So, and the stuff tastes great to me. I love it. Everyone who's tried it says they love it too, especially the Recover.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think if I had to be honest, I know a lot of these ingredients are really beneficial and it's clean, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't taste good, then we're dead, right? So I'm very lucky that exactly, because there are products, and I've seen some products that are like, I think they tout themselves as super healthy and natural, which I think they are, but it tastes like cardboard.
Yes.
And honestly, no one's going to use it. So
it's true. It's true.
We're simple creatures at the end of the day.
Yeah, we don't need much. We just need some support, a little support for the ringer we're putting our bodies through, especially triathlon stuff. That's intense. Like,
the transition from that into some of the combat sport stuff like striking or grappling, that took me a while to like wrap my head around. It was really like a change in it took some reprogramming or rewiring.
Oh, absolutely. And it's different on the body. One thing I tell people that I don't know if everyone considers, but the difference between combat sports and any other sport is most other sports, you do get your adrenaline, obviously, right? From, running or hitting a bat or whatever. But there's a different type of spike of adrenaline that comes from putting your body in danger, right? Or putting yourself in a threat, biologically speaking, like almost getting choked or getting punched or something that spikes your adrenaline in a slightly different way, which actually is a harder demand on your cardiovascular system and your fascia structures. And most people don't realize this, right? So you go through a different type of hormonal spike as a fighter day to day. And most people do not consider this because it's just not really talked about. And so I feel like having these branch chains, turmeric, things like that are so important because you're putting your body through a different type of, demand. So I just kind of feel like it's so important. Like, how many people I talk to who are athletes? Oh, real quick, it says, it sounds like this stuff may be better for me than what I have been using, liquid, which is liquid IV. I mean, try it out, I think you might really like it. I'll be honest, like I talk to a lot of my clients and fellow people, and no one's taking anything.
Oh, interesting. So it's just like water.
Yeah, or like you said, Gatorade. Or or the types of proteins they're taking is like the stuff like the muscle milk, like the concentrate rather than the isolate, and they're just kind of throwing everything at themselves and not really knowing what exactly is going on. So I just kind of feel like it's very important for us to tell this community how important it is to take care of your body supplementation wise, right?
Yeah, definitely. And to that previous comment, we've actually had a number of people who switched over from liquid IV because we know, congrats to them. They're a huge brand and they've done very well commercially. But we've had, I think a few complaints on them that we've heard, I don't want to knock anyone.
Yeah, not bash or anything. It's just listening to consumer reviews, that's what we have to do as
a little high in the
owners.
Sugar. Yeah. It's a little high in the sugar, and they do include those fillers, which again aren't necessarily bad, but in terms of what your body's processing, unnecessary. Like I think silica or silica dioxide is a very common ingredient that you'll see there and all over the place. And we purposely don't include that. So if you look at each of our powders, they're very different consistency. Like the pre-workout that has matcha, it's a very fine powder. The hydrate, which is coconut water, it runs a little bit better because there's a little bit of sugar from the coconut water, and then the Recover is a little bit more fine and fluffy because of the amino acids. A lot of other products, you'll notice it's the same consistency across the board. It's because that silica or maltodextrin is just keeping everything flowing nice, which is good. But We just
And
don't think you need it.
it just depends, like, I mean, I'll just kind of get into like how in depth I go with my clients just to give you an idea of how picky I am about products and why I'm cool. Like why I like your products is like, for example, if someone's like type O blood, right? So they're from like a primitive bloodline, which means that they're going to be extremely reactive to any kind of unnatural ingredient, anything canned, processed, right? And I have a lot of people with type O who are eating processed things, and it just causes gut inflammation, right? And it's just really bad. And so people like that, depending on your blood type, everyone's a little different and can handle and process things differently. And I'm not super into like the blood type diet. I'm more just talking about things that you will react to more. Right. Correct. And so like all of my clients who are on like type O, I tell them like pretty much most of the time, nothing out of a can, nothing out of a bag, like everything's fresh. But if we're going to do supplements, something like yours is cool because these are all natural ingredients. Does that make sense? Yeah, so like it's a really good option for people who are that clean. Because they have to be in order to avoid inflammation, because they get gastrointestinal issues, they get joint inflammation, they feel sluggish because their body is literally like having to process unnecessary toxins based on their blood type. Right.
And that's on top of the demanding training that you put them through, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know, like I said, that sounds super crazy and like hyper focused about it, but it does actually make a difference for some people. Right. And like someone like me who has like rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia and still trains, but I don't take medication. I do all natural supplementation. And one of the things I use is turmeric. It's like a proton pill. But that's why when I saw turmeric in the Recover, I was like, see, like someone like me, this is fantastic because my joints are always like super pissed after ghee, right? And then I drink that and I do actually feel like it's made a difference.
Okay.
So more than that, for people who, because there's a lot of people I know who have RA and roll. Right.
Oh, okay. So, wow. Okay.
There's actually a lot of people I know who have like autoimmune things you just don't know. And so we're all inflamed and sore after. Yeah. And like, so your Recover product is perfect, right? So you got a whole market there, right? So that's why.
And we put the black pepper in there also. Turmeric or curcuminoids, which is the active ingredient turmeric, are. Let me know if this is redundant info, but it's notoriously difficult for the body to absorb. And so I think you froze for a sec. Oh, here we go.
I did freeze for 1 second. I'm back though. I'm back. That was weird.
Curcuminoids and turmeric, which is a primary anti-inflammatory agent, is for whatever reason notoriously difficult for your body to absorb. And black pepper has been shown to help the uptake of that by multiple folds in many studies. So we made sure to put a little bit of that. You obviously don't taste it, but a little bit of that does go a long way in our product.
Oh yeah, I saw that combo. I was like, I saw what they did there. Smart. So for training, like for jiu-jitsu, like you started striking. It sounded like you said started in striking, right? When it came to combat.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, go into like what you started with.
I started with striking. There was a local gym here, and then my buddy John and his twin brother Josh, the Twin Dragons, those guys.
Yes.
When everything locked down and everything was closed, I told them, I was like, I want to learn how to like punch and kick and stuff like you. I don't have anyone to train with. Train me over Zoom, right? This is what I'm gonna. This is me like my personal project during the lockdowns. And so he ran me through kind of his program, and from there kind of learned how to do some striking. Now that when things started opening up, I started training at I'm still there, a local place in Pasadena called Modern Martial Arts. A guy named Justin Hamilton. They have everything from striking to jiu-jitsu to MMA. Cool. And then I personally ended up really liking no-gi jiu-jitsu. So I started cross-training at the 10th Planet in Pasadena under Eric Ramey and Eric Cruz.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
How long have you been doing the jiu-jitsu?
I started my first like private lesson almost a year ago. And by starting as in like, this is guard. I was like, oh, okay, this is what guard is. Yep. As in like not knowing anything. Hey. And now it kind of snowballs from there.
I mean, how do you like it? How do you
Sorry.
like it? Like, how do you, oh,
Um,
am I
it,
back?
it's yeah. It's incredibly it's you know this. I'm sure everyone else can identify. It's incredibly addictive. And I think about this a lot because I've never done any activities. I've dabbled, you know, obviously with the endurance stuff and a few other things, but there's nothing other than jujitsu where like I find my brain is kind of on fire for like at least an hour or two after class.
Or
And that's
more.
very different, you know. I would go, I used to do these like really long distance runs or bikes or swims, but then when you're done, you kind of go home and rest. This is like, you know, I get my ass kicked for an hour and a half in class. And then I'm still thinking about like, what exactly were the motions that I went through and just replaying things in my head. Which is that's also part of the reason why I like to do it in the morning. Because otherwise, like sometimes I can't sleep because I keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting aspect of it I didn't anticipate.
Well, because it's like jujitsu really is mental. So like it's
Right.
very mental, and so like the combination of the physical and the mental, like even when the physical is done, you're still like, dang, why does Johnny keep getting me in that flower suit?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
like that happened 3 times this week.
Right.
You're like, you know, and it's
Right.
but it's good. Like it's good for you. It keeps you on your like, you know, on your
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I think it's I want to say it's been a really good like almost like, you know, people who do puzzles or brain teasers because they kind of keep their brain sharp.
yes.
It feels very similar to that. I think it seems like, you know, now that we're supposedly adults, life can get kind of mundane and you kind of go through the natural rhythm and I think the brain kind of starts to mellow out like any other muscle. It kind of just slowly starts fizzling away.
Yes.
Maybe not fizzling away, but starts droning on. And this kind of keeps it sharp.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and because especially as you begin to really understand jujitsu with time and understanding that it really is like chess, and that you can basically telegraph a person's biomechanical reaction to threat and capitalize on that to get into a dominant position, and then, you know, start your submission chain attacks, which will then lead to another dominant position, you know, things like that. You start to realize like that it's, and then you're like, ooh, it's a game now. And then it gets really exciting. And that's what I really like about it. And I started striking after jujitsu. So I'm like opposite of you. I'm like backwards. And so it's kind of like, I'm like, today I was having a hard time because you know how we're used to like being close and then kind of like, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is like different, you know, but I love it. So I think it's good that everybody does like a little bit of everything.
Right. Yeah. From my perspective, striking is interesting because almost after every exchange, there's a reset in position. In jiu-jitsu, it's just one continuous, exactly.
Yes. It's a story.
Exactly. Someone was telling me that, someone who mostly does striking, and then I did some rolling with him this past weekend, but he was like, you know, when you strike, you can kind of reset and kind of recalibrate. But when we're rolling, it's just like, all right, here we're on each other for 5 rounds. Here we go, or 5 minutes.
Yeah, and you just have to keep it going. Like, that's, you know, that's funny. I actually never made that connection, and that actually makes a ton of sense. Yeah, because you are used to it continuing, and you're like, wait, I have to. Yeah.
So when you started striking, then was it like, what was that transition like?
Well, for me, the movements, so I do salsa dancing. So the movements kind of feel, like it wasn't like super alien. Like I was okay at being pretty loose, you know, and biomechanically I understood like triple extension and internal rotation. And so because of the knowledge I already have had, you know, it kind of, I was able to understand it. It was just getting my body to catch up with what I was understanding because my body's used to jujitsu and jujitsu movements. And I'm, you know, 6 years in now, and I'm at a point where I've mastered what I call lazy jujitsu. So like, in other words, most of the time my movements are so technical, I'm not actually using too much muscle. Like I'm using isometrics and fulcrums and levers. And that way I'm just chilling most of the time. And the only reason I'm sweating is because it's hot. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I'm like used to being kind of like, and so now all of a sudden having to be like, like sharp and, red. It's, it's kind of a
got it,
different for me because of how far along I am in jiu-jitsu as
got
far
it.
as that. And I've had to create that more technical jiu-jitsu also because I'm only 120 pounds.
Okay.
And
Right.
with the fibro and the RA, sometimes I can't I have no strength.
Right.
And so I have to use other ways.
Got it. Got it.
And so then with the striking, obviously you are using your type 2 twitch muscle fibers. You're having to think it's a little more. And so now I feel like it's almost like, oh crap, now I feel like I have to start doing some more conditioning again.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
you're on your feet the whole time.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a silly but paradigm shift.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like, okay, but I love it because I did judo and I've done wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's cool, to do it all. I love it because you can kind of combine stuff, it makes it fun.
Right.
But the striking's definitely a little different, but the footwork is kind of similar sometimes, like a judo. Because how with judo, you have to think of things like a triangle, right? And then with striking, it's like a square. So, but you're still thinking in that kind of
geometric.
Yeah. So it kind of translates,
Got it.
So but I've never done 10th planet jiu-jitsu though.
Oh, okay.
Y'all must have some extremely flexible hips because the internal rotation for that position you got, the lockdown, is pretty wild.
A rubber guard, you mean?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm terrible. It's funny. I'm this far along, but I'm not good with the 10th planet system. I'm not gonna lie, not good with it. I don't know much.
Yeah. That's the other thing is I quickly realized there's 5 names for one thing, and so that's the other thing I needed to try to catch up on, honey hole and inside senkaku and 411 and saddle. I was like, oh, they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
Or in cross ashi, there's 5 or 6 names for that one very great position.
I know.
That I'm slowly trying to get attuned to now.
Yeah, that's definitely rough. It makes it, especially with the leg lock stuff. It's are you talking in Danaher terms, 10th planet terms, traditional terms? Because that I feel will determine how you call it.
Got it.
Because he always goes with the Japanese terms, and it's the old school.
Right.
So, do you plan to compete, or have you competed?
To be determined.
I just threw that at you, shoot.
Yes. Full transparency. Right now, I'm pretty fortunate. I've been able to work my schedule between the 2 gyms to train maybe 5 times a week.
That's a lot.
So that keeps me happy. I haven't had an urge to compete.
Good.
I'm pretty happy just training along right now.
Yeah, and everyone's different. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. Everyone's journey is a little different.
Oh, okay, got it. And are you thinking of hopping back in when things feel better?
If my neck permits, yes. See me, I've always been, before jiu-jitsu, I have a rack of medals from Spartan races and half marathons, and
fun.
I'm just one of those people. Because my whole childhood I was so unhealthy that now that I can do it, it's kind of oh well, so for me that's why I do it. But I always tell people you don't have to compete at all. You could just train and it's perfectly good, because I'll be honest, competition's a whole other beast. People go 100%, they're trying to break you for real. And if you have a job outside of being an athlete where you have to use those limbs to perform your daily tasks, and those tasks would be hindered, it kind of does make you evaluate whether it's worth it, right?
And I guess the thing is I haven't been through a fight training camp, but I've been through Ironman racing training camp where that kind of just takes all your time and brain power, and I kind of need that right now with the kid and with Foxhound.
Yep, absolutely. You're running a business, you got a kid. No, it's too much. It's it's a lot. Right now, it's one of those things where just training, honestly, you're going to be to a point where even if you ever did get the bug, with as often as you're training, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Seriously, most people don't train 5 times a week. Most people are 2 or 3 times a weekers. I love the 5 time a weekers. That's how we get good.
I guess it's a little different because, and I'm fortunate enough to hop between 2 different gyms, but it's kind of like whenever I can, I'll do it. But maybe I can be I try to be a little bit more programmatic with it, but it's just kind of whenever I can get it.
Hey, you're getting it in. You're getting in that mat time. You're hammering it away. It's good, you know?
But I think the other thing is like, and here's the other part that took me a while to realize is like the thought leading up to the training session of like, okay, I'm going to be very diligent, just work on this. I don't care if it doesn't work or if I get tapped or reversed or whatever, but I just really want to work on this. It's better than I'm going to go in and try to win everything. That took me a while to kind of like adjust to.
Yeah. And it's good that you're already there, you know, a year in, because some people it takes longer, some people, you know, but you just got to go in there and work your things, you know?
Right. And then after class, the adjustment of mentality is like, you know, don't, you know, before if I like got tapped a lot or if I did well in rounds against people, I feel really good about myself. But now it's more like, okay, what did you learn? Right. There's a what did you learn is a very big theme here.
Yeah. Well, jiu-jitsu is kind of like life. You try not to make the same mistake too many times, right?
Right.
You recognize it coming. I've been here before. I see that. Right. I see it coming. Oh, this is uncomfortable, but I know how to get out of this as long as I'm calm, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because like little bits of knowledge, it works for and against. I noticed. I'm curious because like sometimes you learn something small and then all of a sudden you're able to escape a lot of things now.
That little concept. Right?
And then the reverse is true. Like I used to get a buddy of mine with something all the time, and then now I can't because he knows what I'm doing. So now I have to like do something else.
Yep. And then it makes you realize like, okay, now I know he's going to react this way when I do that. So
right. So now you go one step ahead of that.
What do I have for that reaction? And then how's he going to react to that reaction? So and then like have like 5 stops and then plan that you're going to get him on like stop 3 or 4. I'm serious. Like rather than stop 1, have it in your head. I'm going to get him on like 3 or 4. And if not, I'll end up in 5, which is another dominant position, which then I'm going to start my next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to catch him because then that way you don't get in that mentality when you lose number 1, where you're like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you're like your basic armbar triangle omoplata combo, right? Like super basics, right? And you went for your armbar, you missed it.
Right.
You go for your triangle, you miss it. You go for your omoplata, you know, you know, you go on to the next thing, right? Imagine if you went for the armbar and then as soon as you don't get it, you're just like, right? And then you forgot about the other 2. And then even on top of that, if you roll on top of them, now you're in like a reverse triangle, Americana, all kind of other, you know, so you just kind of have to like have that mentality of like, don't get upset when you don't get that first. And then as soon as you're in like a bad position, it's like immediately just focus on getting back to a better position and then start over and you're like, change. Right. So as soon as you feel yourself like, oh, I'm about to get in closed guard, get out to the like, like out right away. Let me get on top. Let me get back in my game. And then boom, hunt. Right.
Got it. That's the difference between like someone who's been doing it like 6 years versus 1, right?
Well, and now that's what I'm telling you, because I barely was actually told that concept by Mr. John Evans. I don't know if you know him, but he's a commentator for like flow grappling.
Okay.
He's a black belt. He trains at Henzo Gracie and Subconscious, and he's a fantastic instructor. And I actually pay him for privates sometimes just because.
Oh, nice.
His leg lock game super sick and challenges me, and he helps me figure out my mistakes and how to fix them. And he's the one that was kind of like telling me about like that mentality of like don't just think about step 1 all the time, because then you're quickly rushing about step 2 and 3. You're playing mental catch up, right? Like, no, I lost 1. What's 2? What's 3? Right? As opposed to like, I already know 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 based on what you're gonna do. So now I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting like for you to do the thing so I can go my direction, right? And then you get to that point. So that's one thing I always highly recommend for someone new is drill your chains.
I see. Right.
For like, yes, drill your positions and holding positions and position retention, and then escaping into better positions. But then from those positions, you know, top side, mount, back, or the leg lock stuff, drill your chains and make sure that the end of it ends in another dominant position.
Got it.
Because otherwise you have nowhere to go. You're just kind of going in no direction, right? So that's something to think about, like in jiu-jitsu. And then once you start to realize that's how it works, you're like, oh, now I can start creating my maps for how my body moves, right? Because everyone's different. Some people are pressure passers. Some people are knee slide passers. Some people are like way more comfortable bottom, just attack. Some people, so you got to figure out what you want, and then just figure out how you're going to force that on your opponent. You know what I mean?
Got it. Yeah. That's exciting.
It's fun, right? That's what I love about it. It's like, that's so mentally stimulating, so amazing. So for
it's hard to like,
go on.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna say it's very easy to like I'll be doing work and then you'll think of someone caught you in something. I'll go, I'm gonna go YouTube it, and then there goes like an hour. So I have to. There's almost discipline to like back off.
And one thing that I recommend to people is if you're getting caught, generally all that is someone is capitalizing on your natural biomechanical reactions to threat. So if someone high mounts you, what's your biomechanical reactions? Right? So you have to now train your body to change your biomechanical reactions to threat. Because that's what we're capitalizing on, right? And so that's really when you start to realize it really is a game of cat and mouse. And so in that mindset, you kind of want to think that in the beginning of the round, when you bump and slap, you want to be the offender, whether that be if you're pulling guard and offending that way to sweep or attack, or whether you're pushing forward, or you want to be on the offense. You don't want to be reacting.
Got it.
Even if they take you down, you have something for that. That's going to put you back into your dominant position, like a tomonage or a, deep half sweep back up into side control. And whatever. Now keep moving on. Because it's like if you're driving and you get a flat tire and you're like, oh crap, you're going to just quickly change the tire and keep going. You're not going to like slit the other 3 tires and be like, right? You're going to like, just fix it, go, right? So fixing it is, I got taken down or I got passed. Let me quickly fix this. Shoop. Got it. Keep driving.
Sorry,
so that's just kind of like concepts.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Those are just some good concepts to think of now that you're like a year in. It gives you a direction to think about. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now I know what I need to like start piecing all my little knowledge together, like a game of chess. And figure out how I'm going to do that. And I pre-apologize if now you're going to be thinking even more about jiu-jitsu.
Right, you just fried my brain now.
So sorry. Probably people listening will be like, what the, like, sorry guys. Like, I can't help it. It's the quantum mechanics type brain, you just want to understand the everything. So for Foxhound Fuel, I mean, obviously I see you like you help out like people like Mason Fowler and other people like in the jiu-jitsu community. He's the only one I personally know, obviously, because I help him with his knee and stuff and like take private with him too because he's awesome. But like I know you do other people. And what are your goals for your business? Like do you have like a direction that you see yourself going in overall or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, I would say the business is gaining traction and the brand is gaining traction within like certain pockets of mostly within combat sports. And then now I would say even within kind of like the Pasadena fitness community. And I guess the kind of path to scaling in my mind, at least, is kind of like build these pockets of concentration where people know who are people like us. And then slowly start expanding or methodically start expanding out from there. I think like some of the combat sports right now, I would say if it's like a target, that's probably like the center in terms of where we're marketing. And then now we're starting to expand into like, we go to some of the F45s know us, some local places like there's a place called Stride. It's like a running fitness place. They're great. We have a pretty good presence there. And now there's another club called like Doghouse Running Club. So slowly starting to expand outward. As I guess the customer base builds, I think one nice thing about this business is because I do a lot of customer facing activities like pop-ups where I met you.
Yes.
I'm able to keep an ear to the ground in terms of what people like, what people don't like. So
Yes.
as far as future product development, I think that's very helpful. We have a very good relationship with our customers.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. And that's good. I think that's the kind of in-person you can't really replace that. You can't really replicate like what you're doing, like going out there and seeing in person what people need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because this brand launched in July 2020 when everything was closed. I had everything prepared in like March or April, and then everything closed. I was like, oh shit, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, oh snap! And so I was like, let's just.
Oh, you're fine.
Let's just get it out.
That's all the time on her.
Okay.
You should have heard Andrew. You should have heard Andrew. Go on. Sorry.
We're like, let's just get out. Let's get the brand out. And so doing some like online marketing, and then when things started opening up, I had the mentality of like, oh well, what are people not doing? Where are people not going? So, I don't remember where it started, but at first it was just me. It started popping up at some local gyms, and then people would be like, oh, this is cool. Come to this other place. Go to this other place. And it really just kind of through word of mouth started spreading.
Yes.
So now we're popping up all over the place. And then now we have a few places that sell our product directly. So it's nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. Growth is good.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
One day at a time.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll see your logo like on the TV at like a pro fight event or something, like
one day at a time,
yeah, one day, that's you got your goals, and then you take it, and that's good. It's honestly like anyone who does anything athletic at all. I mean, even like people who do kayaking and stand up, surfers, like anybody would honestly benefit from your supplements.
No, I appreciate it. I would say maybe where we may get it, just to be fully candid, where we may get a little bit of pushback from are people who more extreme powerlifting or bodybuilding, maybe like our pre-workouts. Some of those people think it's a little weak. They like higher levels of caffeine and beta alanine, which is helpful for weightlifting, but kind of makes you a little bit itchy.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's to each his own when it comes to that kind of stuff, right?
Right. And then I think I'm just being fully transparent. Our stuff is very low calorie. So I would say, back to my old life, some people who are looking to say go on 100-mile bike rides, that may not work versus some of the other like higher calorie ones.
Makes sense.
Just full transparency.
Yeah, and it just kind of depends on what they're looking for. Like, I wouldn't think to use something like that in like terms of like if I was running like a Spartan beast.
Right.
I would probably have like, as horrible as it upsets my gut, I'd probably have like goo packets and stuff like that. I mean, it's horrible. You know what I'm talking about, right? The little blocks, the little
yeah.
But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, I get what you're saying in terms of that. But like for just people who are just working out every day and like not trying to, power lift like 400 pounds and just kind of doing your combat sport, then yes, absolutely. Like, just people doing, but yes, I know what you're saying, like the more extreme sport, but that's not really your target. I think it sounds like you're more targeting the people who enjoy that more natural, like, working with your body and just, healing it kind of deal. So,
yeah. And I guess the other theme here was like, because I think we've all had those experiences where say you take a pre-workout or something, you're like, oh crap, I can't work out because I got busy. And then now you kind of, you're feeling all over the place. I wanted to.
You're like vibrating into a different dimension.
Yeah, exactly. One of the themes is like, well, let's make it so that it's like, you can just drink this throughout the day, and it'll be additive, and it'll be healthier. So a lot of people we know, they've replaced their coffee with the pre-workout because it's like matcha. And coffee's great, but some people who like matcha, they just drink this because it tastes good. They don't have to really, it mixes easily. And
Yeah. And I like them. I like matcha a lot, like how it makes you feel. Because I've been drinking coffee since I was like 5, because I'm half Central American.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
That's just what we do. And so my adrenal glands are probably shot and don't react to the caffeine from coffee anymore. Like it's literally like I could drink it and go to bed. Unless it's like that Vietnamese, like Lee's coffee, then we're good. But otherwise, it takes a lot. So it's nice for someone like me. The matcha actually creates, it's like a slightly, your body metabolizes it differently, and so it actually does work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think matcha has it's called L-theanine. I think it's an amino acid in it. That's what, it's like a counterbalance to the spikes of caffeine. So that's why people say they have like a smooth kind of energy with our pre-workout. And matcha is also just so good for you. It's got like antioxidants. And so I figured, no one else was using it in a pre-workout. So why not?
And the hydrate one, I feel like the Muay Thai people need that one. Cause like, I see at a Muay Thai class, that whole floor is like, just like wet.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it rains.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're so dehydrated. Like they need
that is one thing I noticed which was myself and other people who especially on the combat stuff, we're talking about making sure it's also like a mental exercise. As you get dehydrated, as you get tired, as you sweat a lot, brain function starts to go and sloppiness starts kicking in. And at the best, that means you're tired and you don't do as well. At the worst, it means there could be injury.
Yes.
So when I saw people were just drinking water, it was a little bit of a shocking to me, because we when we're doing the endurance stuff, we know the importance of electrolytes, and now that you have to use your brain, it's like
it's way more. I call it the big crunchy water bottle. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like all the fighters have their big crunchy water bottle.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm just like, do you guys take like branch chains or anything? And like I said, most of the time it's like, nah. I'm like,
right.
And it's like, people realize when you don't take branch chain amino acids, what happens is your body starts tapping into your muscle fibers for glycogen as opposed to your fat, because your muscle has so much more readily available glycogen to store, transfer into adenosine triphosphate. It's easier. So then you're literally eating your gains, right? Like literally.
Right.
Whereas if you take branch chain amino acid, it kind of forces your body, it conserves your muscles glycogen and makes your body go to fat first, start breaking the fat down first. And yes, you do. It helps also with the amount of lactic acid. That's why the people don't get as sore, because the type of byproduct from fat breaking down versus muscle is less shocking to your like myosin in your muscles, basically, like your fat. It's like less like so people don't even know that most of the time, and I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of important. So as someone who's like a athletic general contractor, this is super nice for me to have this, because now I can just be like, you're not taking supplements, you work out a lot, here, take this, it's easy for you. They're coded before, during, after. No, but seriously, some of these people, like you said, they're just like, I'm going to this and I got to train here and I got to train here, and they're just boom, boom, boom. They just need simple, basic, boom, 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 go. So for me, it's easy. Like, here, just take these. Like,
no, I appreciate it, because I realize like we can sit around and explain all day, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be a package in someone's hand who I've never spoken with.
Yep.
Or don't even know, or don't know me. So as easy, like you said, as transparent as possible.
Yep.
I feel like it goes a long way.
Oh, it really does. And like for me, like I've noticed a difference in anyone I'm working with, like their recovery is better. They're not as sore the next day. They seem to be, even if they do sweat a lot, I noticed they're not drinking as much water in the sense like, it's like, oh, it's actually doing something, right? And more energy. For me personally, like I said, it's made a huge difference. So yeah, highly recommend. And I think it's really cool that we met, and that like, because it's funny, I was thinking like, oh man, like I really need to start taking supplements again, because I was like training super hard for that tourney. And I was like, I'm totally failing. And I had ordered some like branch chains off of Amazon, and they were not the best. I mean, they were like the organic ones, but I was just like, like flavor wise. And I'm kind of picky. And so then when I tried, I was like, yes, score. Like I was really wanting that, like to find something. And then here it was. It just kind of happened. So
awesome.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
Great.
And
Yeah,
hopefully because of this, like more people will know about your product and start telling people about it, because I honestly think that more people need to be on that clean energy and allow your body to like tell you when too much is too much. Like, take your pre-workout. If you're pushing yourself beyond that level, you might need, you might be overdoing it a little bit, but to each his own, I'm saying, like, so thank you so much for sharing all this. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully, if I have any seminars soon, I could just have you swing by and get more people to know about your stuff and get you some more business. So
yeah, would love it. Really appreciate it again. It's always fun.
And we'll have to train soon, because it's funny, we both do jiu-jitsu, but we've never done jiu-jitsu. So
I better get my shit together.
Hey, I love, like, for me, I love watching people learn jiu-jitsu. It's like so exciting. Like I don't know. I have a teacher's heart. Like for me, I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna smash. It's like more like, oh, I can't wait to see like how you move biomechanics. For me, every time I roll with a new person, you're going to present me new biomechanical reactions to my threats that maybe I haven't seen before, because you're a different person and you've had different life experiences than anyone else I've rolled with. So you're going to react differently, which is going to be a new thing I'm going to have to figure out. That's how I look at it. Like that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. And then you look at it, you should look at it the same way. Every time you roll with someone new, it's like, oh, this person's going to like present me with something that I haven't seen before. And that's really cool, because then if someone else tries to do it to me, I'm going to be like, oh, I feel I've seen that. No.
It's like data collection. You're feeding the algorithmic beast in your head.
That's why I cross train so freaking much. You see me, I'm like, since the beginning, Frangino told me, like, if you want to be a like really good competitor, like cross train, because that's how you're gonna like, because his exact wording was, you train with your teammate every day, and like Herbert always plays turtle guard, and you already and so you're gonna have to go roll with some guy that like maybe is gonna do something different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's what competition is, right? Someone you've probably never seen before.
Never met before. They're
going full blast at you.
They're trying to work their game on you.
Right.
They're doing what we talked about, to each other. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm trying to do my thing. Two squirrels going over a peanut, just and so it's just what it's. So the more different people you roll with, the more prepared you are for whatever someone might throw at you. So that's why, like me as an instructor, and I'm very blessed that my instructor was very like cross-trained.
Got it.
Because it's helped me a lot. So anyway, sorry, total tangent, ADHD over here. That's how it goes.
No, we'll find a day, especially because since I'm in Pasadena, and you're not too far away.
We're close now. Yeah. So
sweet.
Cool.
Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And then real quick, do you have like a website, or is it just like on? I was like, let's shout that stuff out real quick.
Sure, appreciate it. Foxhoundfuel.com. And then we're on Amazon as well, and Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Perfect.
And if you use the code STAYSHARP20, STAYSHARP 20, it's 20% off the website.
Ooh, everyone listening, you heard that? You all just got a discount. Thank you, sir. That's very
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Well, you better get on that. I'm just saying.
Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you have a good day.
Likewise. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Yes, you too.